things to bring out. But I think at this point, the strangest thing they could do is play standard. And Immortals probably not expecting that, right?
We never expect the GIGABYTE Marines to just go into a standard meta game of League of Legends and try to win it the old-fashioned way. We want to see innovation from these guys. We want to see some sort of new way, some new perspective of looking at everything. And let's see what we get out of this draft as Jace and Jarvan banned away by the GIGABYTE Marines. Immortals taking Galio out.
And I think Galio should be permanently banned against GIGABYTE Marines. It's such an enabler for so much stuff as far as map play and just late game insurance for one super fed guy that they've somehow managed to get a bunch of experience. Smart ban by Immortals.
Sejuani going to be the third and final ban by the GIGABYTE Marines as Kalista is banned out by Immortals. She's just not allowed to see the light of day these days.
I don't think that's going to happen at all.
Yeah, Xayah and Rakan, they're both available as well, GIGABYTE Marines. You would expect them to put some kind of high value on Rakan specifically, especially if Xayah is available too. It means you can pair it up with something like the Tristana and you still have an all-in bot lane. The Sion ban. There was a smirk on Pobelter's face there.
So I had to look in a different angle because I never see Sion banned, and oftentimes
I didn't know what champion that was
oftentimes the flash arts are flipped in ban phase, so they're looking away instead of looking forward. So I believe that's what happened with Sion. That's why I didn't recognize it. What?
Yeah, that's a ban right there.
That's some scouting right there. Maybe some of the GIGABYTE Marine scrim partners have been talking, or they saw something in solo queue. That's the only explanation I have.
I mean, I watched I'm a Cutie Pie stream the other day. He was playing full AD Psy on top.
You know what? Maybe that's it. Maybe that's thinking, hey, what's the weirdest thing we've seen in solo queue?
Yeah, that's the GIGABYTE Marines manual right there. But let's see exactly how they really decide to go through this. They grab Lulu first and foremost, and that's not anything rocking the boat, boys. This is pretty much one of the most standard picks you could go for. More standard coming out from Immortals as they pick up the Gragas and the Xayah.
But now you have the Xayah Rakan for Immortals. I mean, Olleh has always been praised during the regular season as being the big playmaker for the team. This guy that's risen to the top of NA supports. And when you give him a champion like Rakan and you pair it up with a Xayah, that's kind of terrifying if you're going up against this Immortal squad.
GIGABYTE Marines picking themselves up the Kog'Maw, so going to have that late game hyper carry potential, as well as grabbing the Cho'Gath, another Void monster, but a very different one.
Yeah, so far, no surprises. The only surprise would be if the Cho'Gath moves into the jungle, since almost everyone plays in top lane nowadays. But if they have anything different, it's in there. And the fact that they're giving over Xayah Rakan again is a little bit shocking. Janna's obviously up as well, but Xayah Rakan are often disrupted for a reason.
Yeah, those two are very, very strong together, and we did actually see Levi play the Cho'Gath in the jungle in their game versus Longzhu, but it just didn't work out very well. Stylistically, it feels like a mismatch for him as a player. We see him always succeed on these big playmakers and carries and not these giant lumbery monsters that try to stomp around and build up their HP. But now that we're into the second part of the bans, I'm curious to see if Immortals has any more of that inside knowledge. Lucian banned away, Taliyah banned away.
For the time being, everything looks fairly standard. Yep. Nice respect being shown from the GIGABYTE Marines towards Pobelter. We were only just talking about how he did have that great performance against Fnatic. And Immortals, they're going to stick with some standard bans of their own. Kassadin being directed towards Optimus. Definitely a big comfort pick for him in the middle lane.
One more for GIGABYTE Marines to go along with that Taliyah. They know that Immortals are going to be picking strictly solo laners, so that's where those bans will be aimed. How do they go about doing it? What's up the Marines' sleeve this time around? I don't think we're going to see another more. After the 0-7-0 performance, I'm doubting it a little bit, guys, but Gnar is the pick at the end of the day.
So a bit of focus towards the top lane as well. Flame, he's had a pretty impressive Worlds Group stage himself so far, banning away one of the side lane pressure carries in the form of Gnar, and allowing Immortals to pick themselves up a pretty staple mid lane. We saw it from Bjergsen during the day. Pobelter now going to have his shot at bringing out the champ.
I mean, Immortals is picking a composition that is right in their wheelhouse stylistically. I'm going to stop talking about that for a moment, though, because these last two picks is whether or not we see something a little bit different from Marines.
Come on, please, Marines, do it, do it, do it. Levi, I remember that game where he got like 350 CS in a single game.
Yep, there we go. Kayn locked in. Now, will they just do boring old red Kayn, or will they be adventurous and play blue Kayn?
No, they should do the red Kayn, okay? I feel like the red Kayn makes the most amount of sense. We can talk a lot more about it once we get into game, but GIGABYTE Marines, they're gonna defy expectations. Flowers, they're pick and stand.
All right, let's see how it works with Ryze locked in as their final pick.
Yeah, and I do feel like people are a little overly grandiose with what they're expecting from the GIGABYTE Marines to pull out. it's the first Kayn of group stage. That is still something new.
That's fun.
Right? So, yes, their picks look like things you've seen before. It's because a lot of picks are in pro. There's only so many champions they can pull in that you haven't seen before. So another non-meta jungler is what I'm going to call it for Levi.
Immortals locking in Shen as their top laner and final pick of this draft. I also want to point out the GIGABYTE Marines are running Heal Ignite, those Silsol summoner spells for people who played back in Season 1.
In North America.
In North America, yes. It's a very specific reference, but I'm sure there's at least 2 people in the audience who get it. But those summoner spells, we saw them work in the victory against Fnatic. Maybe they'll work again here.
But it's against the Xayah Rakan flowers. Like, this bottom lane can kill you at level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Like, how can you not run flash against that?
Let me pitch you on this.
Go, hit me.
All right, let's see what he's got.
Did Mako have flash against Wolf's Rakan when he lost that team fight? Yes! You can't flash Rakan, man.
Okay.
The heal's gonna help you when you're in there.
That's the logic. Why?
That's the sell.
You can't be punished for not flashing if you don't have flash in the first place.
Stand there and fight.
Somebody's going back to the spawn platform, and you hope it's not going to be you.
All right, well, it's the GIGABYTE Marines versus Immortals. They've picked what looks like a fairly standard comp, but will they stick to the standard style? We saw the Lulu with the no flash be swapped up to the top side. Kayn going to be very heavily focused on getting counter jungling in, invading in the enemy side of the map, but you need strong laners to do it. And when you have Cho'Gath and you have Ryze, you don't typically consider them to be the strongest laners during the early game.
Let's see how it breaks out today. Remember, GIGABYTE Marines, such gigantic differences in their 2 performances so far. They'd really like to grab this win against Immortals. With both teams coming into this one at 1-1, it means somebody walks away with a positive record going into week 2, and somebody doesn't.
Yeah, and even though almost no one gives over Xayah and Rakan, and GIGABYTE Marines did do that to Longju as well as in this game, Olleh hasn't played it in the summer split, so it's definitely something that he's needed to practice in order to pull out here.
And look at the stats on your screens right now. The highest and second highest champion kills per minute in group stage teams. These 2 right now, it's going to be a bloodbath by all measures.
Exactly. Teams that are used to playing fast, are those naturally suited to go up against the GIGABYTE Marines? Or if you're not fast enough, does it actually just expose you to more risk? That's one of the things we're going to be able to find out in this game.
It's like juggling balls when casting GIGABYTE Marines. Sometimes they go perfectly, sometimes they kind of go all over the place. You never really know what you're going to get. As GIGABYTE Marines, they're looking to set a bit of an invade up right now.
Well, listen, they got scouted out last time they did it, but now they see Olleh!
Here we go, Olleh doesn't find his knockup, instead he's going to be killed! First blood, GIGABYTE Marines! Pobelter flashes over the wall, Cody flashes over the wall. That went awful for Immortals.
Yeah, and I have to wonder what Olleh was really thinking. Like, Marines knew he was there. They had wards all throughout their own jungle, and Olleh didn't even have a numbers advantage. He just jumped into 4 people.
Lulu doesn't have flash, let's go.
Listen to the crowd, GAM. They are in support of this team. They made a name for themselves, taking down Fnatic. Yes, they got crushed by Longju, but now they've gotten themselves first blood. They're going for standard lanes, and starting off by taking 4 summoner spells away from Immortals is a fantastic way to kick this off.
The ward saw them walking through, but then Olleh just way ahead of the team with Shen not even close. An unconscionable invade right there by Olleh, but it cost him first blood. Now Ryze has it.
Now I want to see Levi make his way down to the bottom lane. No flashes on either champion. You don't have a huge amount of CC, but you got a lot of damage with Kayn. This guy can run through walls, he can take creative paths, and I love seeing that Levi is already invading. I've heard from so many players that jungle Kayn could only be played properly if he's stealing stuff away.
Exactly, we have seen this pick in the LCS and in pro play, and it's early. You need to make it worth early. You have to use your mobility to get the counter jungling in. Getting first blood and getting the early wards helps a ton with this, and Xmithie walks right into it as well. He's going to miss out on probably his whole jungle if he's able to smite this away. Levi has smite, Xmithie does not. Levi doesn't
be a smite battle, but Levi is the one to walk away with it. Super successful counter jungling coming out from the GIGABYTE Marines jungler. This is the kind of champion we like to see this guy on too. Now healing up off of the Scuttle Crabs, we can continue getting in Xmithie's face.
And we talked about the different evolutions just as we were getting into game, and you would expect Levi to go towards Rust.
He wants to kill him.
Or go towards Xmithie,
Whoa.
find some damage, but instead, Xmithie just sidesteps out of the way of it. That's one of the troubling parts about Kayn right there. He's so mobile in the jungle. He's got so many ways to get in and out.
And all the attention that Levi is drawing here is helping their bottom lane a lot. Noway out CSing Cody Sun because they've been dancing between that jungle trying to back up Xmithie, and they've lost on both fronts.
I was curious as to why Levi wasn't using his W, and it turns out that he didn't even max it. He just decided
Didn't
to
even learn it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, he didn't even decide to pick that ability up. Decided to just put all his points in Q and E. Additional wave clear on the Kayn. He just wants to steal away those caps. He wants that additional wave clear. And already being level 4, he's just going to make Xmithie's life as difficult as possible in the early game.
Yeah, Levi is all about first. First person to play Kayn here in the group stage, fastest first blood of the group stage, fastest to level 6 we've ever seen when he played Nocturne. This guy always is the innovator, trying to get one step ahead of the enemy jungler because he puts them out of their comfort zone, whereas he's been practicing this stuff, he's right in his zone.
There comes your initiation from Immortals onto the bottom lane of GIGABYTE Marines. That's that lack of flash on Lulu that might end up being problematic later. Nevan taken very low here, gonna eat some of those biscuit, potion, whatever they are, heal himself back up, as he and Noway are still okay for now.
Like the decision making from Noway though, go straight onto the AD carry rather than onto the support. Realize that the damage threat is going to be Cody Sun and just prevent him from getting involved. But now we have to talk a little bit about Immortals, because they are the ones in the deficit, they are the ones that have been pushed back. But in terms of the laning phase, things still going reasonably well up in the top side for Flame. He's holding his own well up against Archie. You see Pobelter not that big of a deficit, and the AD carries, they're still staying relatively even. The only one that's really struggling is Xmithie in the jungle.
Yeah, and I think what gets lost a lot of time when everyone is throwing around cheese and what's GIGABYTE Marine's going to do is, at the end of the day, when they beat Fnatic, it was because they had a fed Trist Lulu.
Yep.
Right?
It was almost a pentakill.
They used these creative strategies to get through the mid game, but they still knew how to play. So in this game, they invaded more aggressively than a lot of other teams would. Potentially they put Immortals in a different mindset about what they were going to do, and they gave Levi an early lead in the jungle. And now, if they scale a late game with Ryze, Kog, Lulu, Cho, they'll be just fine.
It doesn't feel like cheese. Cheese would be if Levi gets level 2 and then sits in a bush waiting for Xmithie for 2 straight minutes and just tries to bank his entire game on getting a kill.
Exactly. Everyone has their own definition of what cheese is, and they often use it as an insult, like, oh, you need to cheese because you can't beat us playing exactly the way we want to play you.
Yeah.
Like, that's BS right there, because ultimately, you're all playing the same game with the same tools. So if GIGABYTE Marines use a different strategy, go for it.
Well, now the strategy is gank bot lane, especially onto the guy with no flash. That is the punishment for those unorthodox summoner spells.
Well, this is kind of what we were talking about. Unfortunately for the GIGABYTE Marines, they didn't move down to the bottom lane. They didn't try and punish the flashless AD carry and support, and that means that it allowed time for Xmithie to make his way down. There was no vision from GIGABYTE Marines, and IMT, they make their way onto the board.
Yeah, that was a good gank, and it's neutralized this early game, especially if they can get ahead of Noway. They're not going to get to that late game Kog'Maw Lulu, and they need to be able to play this lane in a safe way. Doesn't even use heal here, and technically would have had that incredibly small window to flash away had he had it, but that was a pretty good gank by Immortals regardless.
Immortals getting themselves on the board, but the gold lead still favors GIGABYTE Marines ever so slightly. First Drake is Ocean, so he might not be the most desirable objective to start the game out with. You can see that gold lead is 600. It's the lead. It's also the difference between the junglers. Levi doing a lot of work so far. He has hit level 6 on the Kayn. Kayn's ultimate isn't the greatest in base form, though.
It's cool, though.
It's cool.
It does a lot of damage. You can have a lot of cooldown plays with it. Pretty effective against Syndra, especially, as well. So we'll see how that plays into account later on. But the other big thing to note is Flame has now hit level 6. Remember, no flash in the bottom lane. If you get a good push-off with Cody Sun and Olleh, they can look to try and make that dive down bot. GIGABYTE Marines have answered with a bit of vision in the river, but Levi, he's just trying to continue with the jungle aggression into Immortals half of the map.
Yeah, and this is the point of the game where he really wants to work up towards that transformation. He does have his ultimate, which is nice, but he's not reaching that point of true power until he can get his first transform.
And it's one of the reasons why you have to be so active on this champion. So much of your power is gated into the evolution. that you need to be getting those orbs. You need to be getting that damage. You will find some against Xmithie here. Now though, the collapse coming in from Immortals. The stun lands onto Levi, but calling him in any sort of danger there would have been a lie.
GIGABYTE Marines have to respect the Shen ult at this point. Yes, they're playing with the lead that they have on Levi, but it doesn't mean that this is just a free-for-all.
Optimus tries to flash to get the root now. Going into the Realm Warp, that was
rooting over the wall, spamming your spells as the Realm Warp's going to take him. Hey, it burned the flash in the Shen ultimate, but it cost his own flash and ultimate, so it's a wash.
That was a bit of a messy one. I don't know about that outcome specifically. Levi will find Flame here, walking into the brush, dashing forward, just harassing him a little bit, making his life harder as he walks back to his own lane. Making it even harder now, getting those orbs.
Levi just being a pest.
One orb.
There's no counts left for him to steal. Xmithie has already made his way back towards the bottom lane, but this time GIGABYTE Marines are aware of his ability to set up a gank. Olleh level 6 as well. Look at the level difference between the bottom lane. No Shen ulti or TP, but with these three members, these should be strong enough to be able to set up a dive.
So under-leveled.
Nevan is level 4. His health bar just looks so tiny, but only the base health to work with.
See, guys, in solo queue, this sometimes is a risky strat. You need to run flash on your support, especially against a champion like Rakan.
Levi now being brought up into the mix to clear these waves away, try to save turret first blood. Noway continuing to clear those out, and Levi has done his job, back to farming.
So as much, Vedius, bit of a tangent, as much as I feel like the flash could have helped him escape that one gank,
sure,
I think it's more on Noway and Nevan just not being as good at laning as Cody Sun or Olleh, or the fact that Xayah Rakan bullies every Kog'Maw Lulu lane. So credit to Olleh and Cody Sun for bullying them in here, and also being able to land an all-in through a barrier heal lane. So, good on them. And I'm going to hold personally off on the flame of the Healing Knight players.
I mean, Cody Sun and Olleh, this was a bottom lane that people weren't honestly given a lot of credit or respect to at the beginning of this season. We're tossing all the way back to spring split here, but then throughout summer, Immortals, as they went from a 7th place team to a team that went to the finals of the North American LCS Summer Split, a big reason for that was Cody and Olleh's play, a lot of which came out in lane.
Absolutely, and they're going to be able to break this first turret, feels like no problem. Levi's still trying to farm up to level 8, not helping that bottom lane whatsoever, as we see a lot of other teams doing when their bottom lane is in trouble. He's trying to delay that lane. Instead, they might go for play on somewhere else on the map.
And look at the farm lead too. Cody Sun 103, Noway 70 at the moment the turret falls. The gold lead now almost 1,000 in the favor of Immortals after the level 1 mishap. Things have pretty much done nothing but sway their way. Now moving to grab that first trade.
It's been harder and harder for Levi to really exert pressure into the enemy half of the jungle. He will now move top to be able to get this turret, which will equalize the turret score, but Immortals, they're still keeping up with the plays themselves. They've been able to take that first tower of the game, transition that very quickly into an Ocean, and an Essence Reaver already completed for Cody Sun.
Yeah, and I think Immortals has done a good job stabilizing this game after the failed invade level 1. The fact that they won that lane so hard after losing Olleh's Ignite, Flash, all that stuff, and then also after Xmithie did the invade that gave Noway the 10 CS lead early, like that lane completely flipped thanks to the strength of their mid-game laning.
GIGABYTE Marines have to find some way to make this early game go well for them. That's the way that we've seen so many of their wins come out. They innovate, they theorize, they find all these new ways to play, but now those ways to play are getting punished pretty hard. Wild growth from Nevan onto himself, but Stand United brings another Immortals player into the mix and more money into the pocket of Cody Sun.
I'll give you this one. Flash would have been pretty nice there.
But also just good utilization of the Shen ult from Immortals. This is something that we were talking about earlier on, where it's very easy to just make plays happen in the bottom lane because you have the Rakan who's great at engaging, and you just have the immediate Shen follow-up. So even if Levi's there to help him out, it's just going to still be a 3 versus 2 in their favor, and they're going to be able to get the successful team fight.
Levi farming up his Krugs, but now being pressured by Olleh and Cody, has to walk back, using Kayn's ever so handy ability to do that. But Xmithie, even though he's 2 levels down on Levi, walking through the jungle, recognizing the power of his own laners to help him if he gets into that 1 versus 1, and now that's exactly what they're doing. Levi
trying to force this fight.
Get himself out of this one. Realm Warp coming in, but nobody even steps into it. Cody Sun popping the ulti, Archie coming in from the flank, trying to grab somebody, but Immortals reinforcements have arrived. Xmithie goes over the wall, Archie goes after him, flash for flash, Rupture not quite gonna slow him down enough just yet. Has to knock him away.
Yeah, lots of disengage there for Immortals as GIGABYTE Marines can't quite force hard enough. Archie really tried there, but ultimately just able to trade flash for himself and the jungler, so you got to question whose flash was more valuable there. Will diminish the initiation for Xmithie for the next few minutes.
You can also see that Immortals were able to successfully get a lot of deep vision down into the GIGABYTE Marines bottom half jungle. What they'll utilize that for is up to them, but it could be a potential roam or flank. As you can see, Noway and Nevan with no turret to play around becomes very easy to collapse upon down the 2v2.
All right, boys, take a look at this, though. The GIGABYTE Marine gold differences during the group stage. It stays consistent there for a while, but then as it approaches 10 minutes, you can start to see the divergence. 20 minutes, it's very far apart, and those are the two games that they've had so far. Once it starts going one way, it doesn't stop. That's the lesson.
Yeah, what's interesting in this game is it is different, right? The gold is even. We haven't had that insanely volatile lane swap dive forced by the Marines by lane swapping. I wonder actually if they planned on lane swapping but then pivoted to playing standard once they got the first blood. There's always a possibility of that, but in this game, it doesn't necessarily seem like they have the same type of combination for the Power Farm 6. You never know, though.
And I feel like Levi, the impact that he's been able to have on this Kayn has just been dwindling as the game progressed. Initially, we saw him setting up a lot of great invades. We saw him putting a lot of pressure down onto Xmithie, but now Xmithie's reaching this point where he has more teamfight value. He has more utility on the Gragas. He's going to be tankier later on into the game. It's going to be easier for Immortals to both start these fights and teamfight in general. So GIGABYTE Marines, you kind of need to see where they're going to go with this composition they've drafted, because it's kind of a little bit all over the shop with a bit of early game, a bit of mid game, and a bit of late game everywhere from their car.
Immortals now rotating that bottom lane mid. They've taken the bottom lane tier 1. Tier 2 is a bit difficult to push on to 15 minutes into the game, so instead they'll start putting the damage into the tier 1 mid lane. Cody Sun, very strong right now. You mentioned the Essence Weaver before. Compare that to the Kog'Maw that's still juggling around pieces of Ginsu's Rageblade, which feel really bad to just buy on their own, by the way. Having a Blasting Wand sitting in your 80 carries inventory just doesn't do a lot for you.
At an incredibly weak point in the game right now. That is okay, though, sometimes when you're camping mid lane. One of the harder turrets to dive as long as they can continue to clear that wave. Ryze also transitions into side lane fairly well, especially with Abyssal Mask. That's what GIGABYTE Marines is trying to do. Surprisingly, all very standard stuff.
The Ruby Crystal completed for Levi in his inventory now almost guarantees to me that he's going to be going red Kayn instead of blue Kayn, just because of the fact that
I'm sorry to break your heart, Cloud.
Blue Kayn builds nothing but long swords and items that come from long swords, so probably not the health crystal today. Levi showing right there why you probably want to have a little bit of tankiness in this game. The damage from Pobelter's Syndra will be very threatening as we go on. He's got the Morellonomicon done now as well, so healing's going to be that much more difficult to get it to stick onto him as the Immortals push continues. It looks like GIGABYTE Marines not in a spot to stop it.
Impressed with how Immortals are just keeping this bot lane push as they move between bot and mids. They make sure that someone from GIGABYTE Marines is always there to answer the wave. That means Immortals have the numbers advantage, and it makes taking that mid tower down that much easier. They've now finally gotten themselves the gold lead, and the game is now much more in an easier state for a team like Immortals to be able to read and plan their next move.
Yeah, exactly. So any type of early game shenanigans of neutralizing is that 1,000 gold lead for Immortals, where they have a lot of CC and initiation. Looking at the way the Marines need to try and make it to late game, they don't have that much CC or initiation, but they need to find a way to keep the farm going up onto Noway's Kog'Maw. He needs to hit those items, and then I think they actually have a chance of having pretty decent mid-game team fights.
Still a close game, 1,000 gold separating the sides. Levi moving towards the Rift Herald with the help of Nevan, who's still only a level 7 Lulu. Pretty far behind the curve here in this game. Olleh now cresting level 9. Rift Herald going to be given up on there. GIGABYTE Marines not able to grab that one just yet.
And Levi really needs to transform before he can force right now. The level 10 at the moment is really difficult for him to get by.
Picked up again now by Immortals. Shouldn't be any sort of contest between themselves and GIGABYTE Marines as they grab that one for free. That's 2 oceans in their pocket. As this game goes on, that extra regeneration may prove very helpful if they like to skirmish with GIGABYTE Marines, back out immediately afterwards. They'll be topped off again. They can go right back in there.
And it just feels like that Immortals are the ones now dictating the pace of the game. Thanks to Cody Sun and Olleh, the advantages they built themselves up in the bottom lane, they're the main carries that are being moved around the map and trying to pressure GIGABYTE Marines into making a bad decision that they can then look to capitalize.
Honestly, I feel a little bit... What's the word I'm looking for? A little bit lied to by the stats this game, because we came into this thinking these two teams have the highest amount of champion kills per minute so far. This should be a bloodbath. But now, maybe they're looking to rectify that lie. Archie getting himself caught out, beat down, giving another kill over to Cody Sun.
He's super dead. I mean, Flowers, there was 1 combined kill per minute for the Marines, about 0.8 for Immortals, I believe, averaging 0.9. Currently, we have 4 in 20, so I think you're fine to think that it lasts to a bit. But games do accelerate in kills as they extend forward, so there's still a chance.
All right,
especially with the Immortals having all these Ocean Drakes, they're going to keep staying healthy.
Let's see how the chance looks here for GIGABYTE. Never mind, doesn't look good. Flame gets himself away, Spirit's Refuge keeps him safe.
Quick
Not
assessment
too
there,
worried
Flowers.
about that one. Yep, we're able to do that quick math and see they don't have enough damage to do 2,000 to his health instantly.
Well, GIGABYTE Marines will be able to get their second turret of the game, but Immortals already on track to get themselves their third. Immortals just seem to be faster on the play. They were able to find that successful pick onto Archie, and it's just starting to feel harder and harder for GIGABYTE Marines just to find some kind of answer to this constant bot lane pressure from Immortals.
Talking about being faster on the play, you're the one who said it at the beginning, I believe, Jat, where you were talking about if you're fast and you play against fast, is it good because you know what to expect, or are you just going to get outclassed in that respect? Right now, GIGABYTE Marines is the one who's saying, oh, well, I guess maybe we're not fast enough.
Yeah, or do both teams just sit back and think, this team is going to try something funny, let me watch them. And then they just stare at each other for 19.5 minutes.
But then you kill the enemy.
Yeah.
Right here, just like this.
This is where they found the kill. Archie stuck around too long trying to clear the ward out. Used his flash, bit of a waste, arguably, but on the bright side, he gets the Shen ulti out. But he does end up losing the Rift Herald and a top lane tower, which results in a very swift advantage going in favor of Immortals. Now the Baron has spawned. Now, it's only 20 minutes in, right? So I don't think they're going to rush it down.
We saw it last game at 22.
We did, but that was because an entire team went down to the Infernal Drain. So there was a big window for that to happen. Whereas Immortals, they're just setting up vision and making it a pressure point. They're forcing GIGABYTE Marines into this situation where they go, oh, are they doing it? Are they not? Maybe we have to check. And that's where someone like Olleh will find his pick, find the kill, and then maybe they can translate that into a barrier.
Yeah, but the game is still at a point, even with the 2 Ocean Drakes, that one fight could end up swinging it in a very big way. One thing that GIGABYTE Marines talked about when comparing their roster from MSI to now is the bottom lane being switched out. I mean, Noway is the new addition to this team, and they rave about how good he is, building hyper carry compositions around him and him being a true carry for the team. So it's still on him to perform in a big way as this game approaches late.
As this game goes further and further, we're now 21 minutes in. Immortals taking the tier 2 turret away from the GIGABYTE Marines. Look at the man on the flank, Levi. In case you haven't noticed, he's still base Kayn. 21 minutes into the game on a champion that normally wants to evolve around 15 or before. He's not in a spot where he can take those early advantages and do anything with them.
Hasn't been enough action for him to be able to get involved and get that transformation. Goes back to base once again. Still not even having his Black Cleaver, and finally,
there we go.
21 minutes and 36 seconds.
Scythe through the heart, gets impaled. Now he's got some power.
This is why you want to be playing the Kayn as an invade-style jungler, but to do that, you need pressure in lanes. After Archie got a few levels, yes, he had the push, and Optimus went pretty even against Pobelter, but the bottom lane was struggling so much that Levi didn't really have that freedom to just sit in Xmithie's jungle, keep harassing Xmithie out of the jungle, and he just wasn't finding those opportunities to get those snaps.
Well, now that they've got the Kayn evolved, at least they've got him to a point where he can be useful in these fights. The knock-up on his W, one of the most useful parts of that evolution. But Immortals is just putting so much pressure on right now. They're taking another tier 2 turret 22 minutes in.
Just tower after tower after tower for Immortals. They have great vision set up. They realize that GIGABYTE Marines are constantly answering the minion waves. They get pushed underneath their tower. They're in a bad position, so they can't answer, and that gives IMT a very swift objective.
Yeah, and I think Immortals is playing this one really smart. They're getting enough wards down. They're sieging in a safe way. We haven't actually seen Olleh go for many plays. If anything, he's followed up Xmithie when he does go for a body slam flash, but they haven't needed to because as long as his goal lead continues to extend and as long as Cody Sun stays so far ahead of the curve of Noway's items, they're going to be absolutely fine.
40 seconds till that next Drake spawns. That'll likely go over to Immortals if they continue to control the game at the pace they're doing right now. GIGABYTE Marines, this team feels totally different this game. Before, they were always looking for options. It was never a slow bleed from GIGABYTE Marines. It was, we're going to just end this game faster. We're going to die trying. They're always trying to make a move, but today it's just the opposite.
On the bright side, it's better than their Longzhu game. They don't have a 0-7 Mordekaiser. So you got to look at the bright sides. They still have the potential for a Kog'Maw. You know, as Cass has always talked about, the late game. You know, so far, Immortals are doing a great job of slowly pressing their advantage further and further into the base of GIGABYTE Marines. But if they slow down at any point and Noway is able to get that 2 or 3 item Kog'Maw state, then maybe we can see this shining, this rising AD carry for the GIGABYTE Marines have more of an impact. But it's hard to believe when Cody Sun has like a 2.2k gold advantage over his AD carry counter.
Yeah, Cody Sun working on big item number 3 now in that Infinity Edge. Feathers fly, and he immediately cuts down the enemy support player. Xmithie grabbed the kill onto Noway now as well. Levi and Optimus having to flash themselves out to stay alive. I don't know if you can say the same thing for Archie here. Does flash away, does stay ticking for now as they continue the chase. Immortals want more blood. Flame looking to solo down Archie as the rest of the team works together, getting rid of Optimus. 2 left alive on the side of the GIGABYTE Marines, and now Archie, he's number 4, he's out of there, and Immortals go 1 for 4.
They clean house in that fight the GIGABYTE Marines tried to start. And for Lulu, if you're gonna bring Heal Ignite, at least use the heal when you're getting bursted down. He dies before using anything in that fight. Cody Sun as well able to avoid that engage. Xayah is a great pick for him as well. I feel like there are instances, even in the Longzhu game, as Levi tries to take down Flame. We're gonna follow this.
Flame trying to fight this one out. Now that he's got Nevan here, he's got no way. Levi takes him out, but they traded away for Baron, which is not really what you want to be trading those single kills for.
I think Immortals can be pretty happy with how that all played out. GIGABYTE Marines are going to try and get some consolation prize, but this is where we see GIGABYTE Marines trying to get a flank off. They use the Ryze ulti, their target is Cody Sun, but immediately he flashes away, he gets out of the fray, he has the Shen ulti too, and the rest of GIGABYTE Marines are just getting melted by the front line of IMT.
GIGABYTE Marines want to take this Ocean Drake down for themselves. Nice pick on the Pobelter. They grab themselves the Drake as well. This could be exactly what the team needs. Xmithie to fall next.
Big misplay there from Immortals. They think they can just walk up to the Dragon. They think they can contest, but then Archie gets the nom-nom down. He forces the kill down onto Xmithie and Pobelter. And that results in an Ocean, and now pressure going in favor of the GIGABYTE Marine.
Yeah, you're still against a Cho'Gath at the end of the day, so a rather bold attempt to take that 3rd Ocean. Just kind of cycling death timers. They got to make sure they recover enough so they can actually get the 5v5 where they've shown they have an advantage.
Levi tried to go through the wall there, see if he could find anybody to throw up into the air with the scythe, but unluckily for him, Cody Sun and Olleh stick together constantly this game. Olleh knows he needs to be protecting Cody, knows how strong Cody is, and he's perfectly fine just hanging around him, attached at the hip, as we so often say about these Ardent Sensor supports.
Oh my goodness, this fight at the Drake pit, Pobelter getting a little bit too greedy when he moves forward like this against a bunch of GIGABYTE Marines. Nom, 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 nom. And then they still get the Drake at the end of the day with the smite. So very good play by GIGABYTE Marines.
I think that they just didn't have the wards there, so he didn't even see the teleport until Olleh had come around. Then the moment he realizes, uh-oh, I'm in danger, he gets silenced, he gets knocked up. And unfortunately, you can't use any abilities when you are silent.
A little bit inconvenient as the Immortals squad pushes up into enemy territory now again, looking to contest the jungle of GIGABYTE Marines. Levi 2-0 and 3 on this Kayn, doing the best of anyone on his team. 100% kill participation, BF sword and inventory, likely a GA to make him that much harder to kill when he does run into these fights.
Yeah, he's going to try and carry, but knowing Kayn does not actually scale amazingly into the very late game. He feels great to play, but a lot of times he has that fall off, and Pobelter and Cody Sun, more so Cody Sun, are absolutely online right now. Just going to try and go back to the types of plays that were getting the lead. They did die after Drake, but they still have 50 seconds of Baron. I'm going to try and chip down these turrets.
Still have a 6,000 gold lead too when they get into these fights in neutral territory. Marines have to play it so well to do well.
Just want to highlight that Levi, 200 farm on the Kayn, Don't know how he always does this, but he's always able to just channel farm into himself while not taking anything away from his teammates. I don't know if it's going to be enough, though, as Immortals are already sieging onto the base.
Yeah, still 30 seconds left to Baron, and Shen ultimate can threaten if GIGABYTE Marines try and engage.
Immortals knocking down the turret. Now can they take the inhibitor itself? Nothing left to defend. It means it's a fair fight and open ground. Shen still pushing topside, can stand united at any time. Archie trying to silence these guys up. He's quite a lot of damage into that 4,000 health pool. He's got a lot of health, but not a lot of resistances right now, so he's not nearly as tanky as he seems. Cody Sun eats a lot of pain right now, but he gets back and healed immediately as Levi, really finding himself bursted down, now runs away, but Pobelter still able to pop the GA. Now they can find even more. Nevan's knocked up. Levi respawns, gets a 4-man's blade reach, but I don't think it's going to be enough to save the inhib.
It's not enough. Immortals is sticking together so well and just focus firing down the right targets. They get Nevan again and the inhibitor.
Immortals walk away victorious once more. Cody Sun has really been the big carry of Immortals this game. He had a bit of a rough start, losing his support to First Blood, but the pressure did not continue from the GIGABYTE Marines. Xmithie decided to make his way down bot. They punished the flashless Lulu. They utilized the Xayah Rakan. Now it's a 4-0-3 Xayah, level 15, that is just ripping through the lineup with GIGABYTE Marines.
And Levi goes over the wall, trying to steal away some chickens. He gets them, but that's about it.
You asked how he has 226 CS? A lot of enemy Raptor camps. Over and over again.
It's, what, 6 CS every time you steal one? That's a wave?
Yeah. He steals a lot of caps. To be fair, Levi had that game where he was like 350 CS within like a 35-minute game, which is pretty nuts. But now we can look back at how this inhibitor fight played out. Good knock up there from Levi, but then Pobelter with the good stun in response, knocking him back, delaying the engage. And Immortals, they're just buying time. Eventually, they're forced to use the Shen ulti, and then here they get the great knock up onto the Lulu. There's nothing Nevan can do. Levi doing his best to keep the team alive, but unfortunately for the GIGABYTEs, it just wasn't enough.
GIGABYTE Marines, the situation gets bleaker and bleaker as time wears on. The slower-paced game has just been a slow bleed, almost for the entirety of it. That one mishap at the Drake, really the biggest mistake that we saw for the Immortals. And now they move up again, looking to make plays onto Optimus or the Tier 3, whichever comes first. One feather from Cody takes it out, but he's still going to be maybe in trouble. Never mind, grabbing the kill onto Levi for Pobelter. Immortals continues their push with Redemption to keep him healthy.
Sit back in that Redemption one more time, get the second inhibitor, rinse and repeat with inhibitor 3, or just wait a minute until you can get the Baron and go all the way for the Nexus. Immortals has played with so much control, except for 2 blips, which was the level 1 invade and the Ocean Drake the GIGABYTE Marines ended up stealing away. But aside from that, it has just been a great display from Immortals.
I mean, we so often see teams hit the wall of these inhibitor turrets and say, no, wait for Baron, we'll push then, that's when we're going to make our move. Immortals just says no. They just walk straight in, take whatever they want, and now they've got one lane left to do it in. Rupture finds its way only onto Xmithie. Archie can't even walk close to this Xayah right now. Cody just outputs so much damage.
And you've got to think about what this means for the group as well. Immortals getting that 2-1 scoreline is going to solidify them in that second place spot. Having that kind of a lead is so advantageous moving into next week, and now we can just look back at how they were able to get that very quick kill on the Levi.
Yeah, just tries to go in, doesn't have the GA this time. Everyone uses the spells, he's gone, right? They're not able to initiate cleanly or together, and Noway is so scared of all the Syndra and Xayah CC that he's not able to get close. They might try and rush this Baron on spawn, though.
Another
the only
Drake.
other chance they have.
Another Drake did go the way of Immortals. They picked up the mountain on their way out of the GIGABYTE Marines base. Baron spawning right now. GIGABYTE Marines only has Levi nearby, so no spawn chance for them. Immortals already getting into position.
Yeah, no Baron rush to be. Noway was just in the mid lane. Most likely not worth trying to contest this Baron, but there are very few options left, because if they do give up the Baron, their base is probably dead, but they're too slow on the play anyway.
So much damage on this side of Immortals.
Yeah, and Immortals is getting set for the final push. I want to take this small moment before they push in to clarify my thoughts on Heal Ignite. because I think it can work in lane for those strengths, but I do not think it is good overall before you take it into every game in solo queue. Specifically in pro play as well, when they are more willing to punish missed positions. It means there's no way out ever of a Gragas body slam, a Gragas ult, or Rakan engage, and I think Immortals has done a very good job punishing that this game.
I also think it's always just a risk to run it into a Xayah Rakan lane, which in general you should never look to give away. But now here's Immortals, they're looking for the final push, they're looking for the game.
Redemption called down, silence down onto Flame, but he's just so tanky. Immortals have the raw stats to force this issue right now. Optimus and the rest of the GIGABYTE Marines will hold the turret for this push, but the next minion wave will likely be it.
There's quite a lot of wave kill on the side of GIGABYTE Marines, so I feel like Immortals need to send Flame down bot, get that minion wave pushed into GIGABYTE Marines base to just split up the GIGABYTE Marines so that they now have the Baron, they have the extra minions, but that tower's pretty low, they might just try and force it.
Here we go, Force comes out, Levi goes in, looking to find the burst, they got Cody Sun! This could be the fight. Immortals now without their big carry. Archie taken low, Levi the one who's wild growth. Flame backing away, Redemption to keep them healthy. GIGABYTE has to think how hard they want to chase this. Immortals is full HP.
What a beautiful play from the GIGABYTE Marines. Knockup from Levi into insta-kill from Archie. Fantastic coordination that'll delay it for a little bit longer for Immortals. I don't think they're dissuade just yet.
Double Mountain Drake, they are going to heal up, and GIGABYTE Marines use a lot. They're trying to just leverage these super minions to help them get the 3 inhibitor cycle.
Haunting onto Levi, the burst comes through from Pobelter, but there's your Realmore, putting Archie into the back line, seeing what he can find. Rupture not making its way onto anyone just yet, but the silence into the Polymorph will hold him there for a moment longer. GIGABYTE Marines just doesn't have the damage to get these kills.
Yeah, they don't have the stickiness in their engagement. They don't have that hard CC from a Syndra stun or a Rakan engagement. Everyone is just kind of slowly walking towards them.
Here we go. There's the replay. So great knockup there from Levi, and again, the immediate follow-up from Archie was fantastic. The one thing we can say about GIGABYTE Marines is just they're so quick to collapse on a call. They find the pick onto Cody Sun. They're able to buy a little bit more time, but their base is still in shambles. They're going to need to find so many more of these before IMT are at a real risk of a big comeback from the Marines.
Cody Sun says, might go with the Guardian Angel, because they have a lot of front-loaded burst, but then not so much sticking power after the fight. So in this case, I actually like Guardian Angel on AD carries, when most times I like stuff like Mercurial Scimitar, but not going to be able to get that as well.
Immortals has 2 inhibitors to still take down. They have 1 inhibitor already down on the side of their opponents. Find here, stun from Pobelter, working its way towards that minion line, clearing those out. Xmithie on the front line. Flame here with the rest of the team, not even bothering to split push, doesn't need to. Mid lane inhibitor falls. Cody Sun grabbing the credit on that one as the top lane inhibitor respawns. So essentially the same situation, just a little bit different. Bottom lane now the target. The poke coming out from GIGABYTE Marines just doesn't do anything. Dawn goes through onto Archie, Spirit Threats gets down to prevent any sort of a counterattack. Blaze Breach only going to find those tanks yet again. Flame now backing himself away as Immortals gets 2.
Now the Baron has just ran out for Immortals. Surprised that they still had it, because I thought that it may have run out much earlier, but GIGABYTE Marines did a good job of stalling things out. Now Levi could be in a bit of danger, but instead Immortals, their eyes are on that 3rd and final inhibitor. It's a pretty big minion wave in the bottom lane. They may want to go and close that out. Or Immortals, they may just want to try and end the game now.
Yeah, just push for the 3rd inhib. Even without Baron, the super minions in the other 2 waves are going to create a forced response by GIGABYTE Marines. And we also know they just don't have the greatest initiation, so Immortals could crack a lot of this base, even without the Baron.
Let's see what they can do now that they've got their opponents stuck in their base. There's almost no way to leave when you've got 3 inhibitors down. Even if you win 5-for-0 team fight, it's difficult to make a lot happen with it oftentimes, just because you'll find your Nexus turrets getting beat on by 4 different super minions. And now that all 3 inhibitors are down, there's 2 coming from each lane every single wave. It's a full-time job to even contain this.
And that's why they haven't sent anyone back to the bottom lane, because those super minions have now hit the big minion wave that was stacking up for the Marines. They've got a minion wave pushing up bot. Immortals also have another minion wave pushing up top, and it's just the waiting game for Immortals at this point.
Stun goes through from Pobelter, finds its way onto 2. Levi, 2/3 HP. He does have the ability to heal himself up significantly in the fight using the ulti, but with the damage and burst that Immortals has, you've always got to pay attention to that.
Exactly, and it's probably not going to cost Immortals this game, but Cody Sun's mispositioning in the late game is becoming a big worry for Mortals. It hurt them a huge amount against Longzhu, and here he got killed at the mid inhibitor, and he took a large amount of poke as they were trying to finish the base, which forced them to pull back. Ocean Drake's healing him now. They have such a large lead, it probably won't matter, but there will come a time when their games are very close, and he has to position better.
Move on to the Elder Drake. They want to make sure that the next push into the Immortals, or into the Gigabyte Marine space, excuse me, is the final one. They'll all back in unison, they'll shop for the final time, and they'll try to end this game. Gigabyte Marines, 10,000 gold down, Elder Drake on the enemy team. They've got to pull off one hell of a fight to stay in this one, while the super minions pour into their base. If it wasn't hard enough, it's got to be harder.
Exactly. It's free farm, man. It's just tunneling into the base. You know, you can stack up everything you need. Bright side of losing 3 inhibitors.
Yeah, I mean, they would love to have Noway actually reach late game Kog'Maw because he is 5,000 gold behind Cody Sun, who, by the way, has sold his boots. He's just got so much gold lying around that he keeps buying these things.
It's actually Pobelter that's been dealing with a large chunk of this damage. Again, kind of the unsung hero of the Immortal squad. He has been super consistent on this Syndra. Does have 2 deaths. That is the unfortunate circumstance that you're put in when largely playing against champions like a Cho'Gath. But still been able to dish out the damage and assist his team in getting them to the state they're at right now.
Flame purposefully goes back to base just to make sure he's ready one last time. Picks up the stone plate. TP's back in. Immortals ready to siege the Nexus itself. Knockup from Levi only onto Xmithie, doesn't really matter. He takes a swing out of the cask, looking for those initiations. Nexus turret number 1 almost down. Number 2 still okay, but with this amount of minions, neither one of them is going to last that long.
It's just a matter of time unless Gigabyte Marines try an all-out engage.
There you go, Optimus tries to flash in, able to find the root, but not going to be finding much else. Cody Sun with the damage. The taunt is locking Archie up, and he can't get away. Noway free firing, but the damage just isn't there for him. Levi in some danger of his own as now he retreats back into the fountain. Cody Sun pops the GA. No way out of that one as the Nexus is exposed. And Immortals will take the win over Gigabyte Marines.
Very clean final fight from Immortals. They will be able to shut down the Gigabyte Marines. And they will be able to get themselves the extra win and finish 2-1 at the end of week 1 of groups.
Yeah, when all things are said and done, Immortals should be very happy with their performance in this group. They pulled one out against Fnatic. They had their first game against Longzhu, their most formidable opponent in this group.